Hi, in this lesson, topic 1.22, we're going to divide decimals by whole numbers and decimals by decimals. Dividing by decimals still uses the same language as dividing by whole numbers. So we're going to have our long division symbol. The number that we are breaking up is called the dividend. And the number that we're dividing it by, for example, in this example, 246 divided by 3, that's our divisor. And our answer is our quotient. So these three parts make up division. And we've got the three ways to show division. We can use our division symbol. We can use fraction bar, which means divide by, or we can use long division. When you have to divide longhand, it's really important to remember the steps and go in that order. So this family memorization tool can help you. So we memorize that dad means divide, that's step 1. Mum, multiply. Sister, subtract. Brother, bring down. And rover, repeat, or you get a remainder. So we're going to go through those steps for dividing with decimals. First up, we're going to long divide a decimal by a whole number. When you long divide a decimal by a whole number, you don't need to make any changes at all to the location of the decimal place. So 9.32 is going to be our dividend, and it's being divided by 4. 4 is our divisor. So what we need to do when we have this kind of question is just line our decimal place up top, and then we're going to begin our steps. Step 1 is dad. So we're going to divide evenly. So we're asking ourselves, how many times does 4 go into 9? Or really 9 divided by 4. And that goes 2 times. Now we're to mum, multiply. We take the 2 that we just wrote down and multiply it by 4, and that equals 8, and we put that 8 underneath the 9. Now we're ready for sister. We subtract. 9 minus 8 is 1. Brother, we bring down. We bring down the next digit, and we don't bring down a decimal place. We just ignore the decimal now that we've put it up in the quotient. 3 comes down, and now we're at rover. We either repeat the process or we have a remainder. We see that we still need to keep going because we need to have all our places filled. So we're going to go back to dad and do it all again. This time, when we're dividing, we're not looking across as in 4 divided into 9. We're looking down, 4 into 13. 4 goes into 13 3 times. Now we're at mum, multiply. 3 times 4 is 12. Sister, subtract. 13 minus 12 is 1. Brother, we bring down the 2. Rover, we repeat the process. We go back to dad and we're going to divide once more. 4 goes into 12 perfectly 3 times. Mum, 3 times 4 is 12. Sister, subtract. 12 minus 12 is 0. There's nothing to bring down. That means we're done. We have a 0 remainder. Our decimal is finished. So our quotient here is 2.33. When you need to divide a decimal by a decimal, you need to make some changes because we can't actually have a decimal divisor. So what we do is we move the decimal, in essence, not changing the answer, but changing the numbers to make them easier to deal with. So what we're going to do here is set it up. 4.374 divided by 0.03. Now we can't have the decimal out here in the 0.03. So what we're going to do is fast multiplication. We're going to move our decimal place 2 places to the right to get that decimal place in front of the 3. And we can actually just drop it because 3.0 is the same thing as 3. So what we're doing here is we're actually multiplying by 100 when we move 2 decimal places. And because we multiplied by 100 to make 0.03 into 3, we have to do the same to 4.374. So we are going to again move our decimal 2 places to the right, changing the location of the decimal, and putting the decimal up in the quotient. So it looks like we are changing the numbers, and we are, but relative to each other, 437.4 divided by 3 is going to give us the same answer as 4.374 divided by 0.03. And if you don't believe me, you can check your answers with a calculator after. So it's pretty cool how that works. So now it looks kind of messy, so I'm going to rewrite it. Sometimes the moving gets a little bit messy. So I'm going to rewrite it so it looks nicer. And then I'm going to begin my steps. So we're going to first divide 3 into 4 one time. Now we multiply. 1 times 3 is 3. And we subtract. 4 minus 3 is 1. Now we bring down. Bring down the 3 and repeat the process. This time your eye is looking downwards for the division step. 3 goes into 13 4 times. Now we multiply. 4 times 3 is 12. Subtract. 13 minus 12 is 1. And bring down. Bring down the 7. Repeat again. 3 goes into 17 5 times. 5 times 3 is 15. Subtract. 17 minus 15 is 2. And bring down the 4. Repeat once more. 3 goes into 24 8 times. 8 times 3 is 24. Subtract. 24 minus 24 is 0. There's nothing more to bring down. We have a 0 remainder. We are done. Our quotient is 145.8. If you have a whole number divided by a decimal, you still need to move the decimal places. So this is no good, having 0.007 as your divisor. What we want to do is make the numbers easier on ourselves. So we're going to move 3 decimal places to move that decimal out in front of the 7, basically taking away those zeros. But with the 35, we have to create the decimal place. So we're going to create the decimal place where it would go and move 3 decimal places. So we're going to fill up with 3 zeros. And again, it looks a little bit messy, so I'm just going to rewrite it out. And that will be your decision how you want to do that. But now we're ready to follow our steps. So we're dividing 7 into 35,000. This will go quick. Now 7 does not divide into 3. So when that happens, you just move over to take the 35. So your first answer is going to be lined up above the 5. That's very important. So 7 goes into 35 5 times. 5 times 7 for our mum step or multiply is 35. So we're going to subtract and we're going to get 0. Now watch what happens when we bring down. When we bring down and we go to repeat, it's just 7 into 0. Well, 7 into 0 goes 0 times. So actually, all you need to do when you have a whole bunch of zeros, and if you want, you don't even have to bring them down, but I'm just showing you that every place must be accounted for. But when you have a whole bunch of zeros, you can just fill in your quotient with zeros. And that's why it's really important to line your digits up correctly so that you don't put an answer like 500 or 50,000. That would be an incorrect place value even though you've done the division correctly. So our answer here is 5,000. So 35 divided by 0.007 is equal to 5,000 because 7 into 35,000 is 5,000. So we're going to look again at holding the place with zeros. What we have here in this question is we have a whole number divisor and a decimal dividend. So we don't have to make any changes. It's only when we have a decimal divisor. So here we're going to line up our decimal, but we're going to use zeros to hold the place. We know that 6 does not go into 0, so we're going to put a 0 there. So we're holding that place. Now we move over 6 into 0. That doesn't go. That goes 0 times. We put a 0 there to hold that place. Now we move over one. 6 into 3. 6 does not go into 3, so we put a 0 there to hold the place. And now we move over to take 36. 6 goes into 36 6 times. 6 times 6 is 36. So we can show that final step to ourselves if we want to get a 0 remainder. So this one goes more quickly, but you need to have zeros keeping the place value so that you can show the correct answer, which is 0.006. So we're going to do a few more together just to get the steps down. We have Dad, Mom, Sister, Brother, and Rover. Those are our 5 steps for long division. What we have for these do togethers is all whole number divisors. So that's all fine. We're going to place our decimal up top and begin our long division. 9 does not go into 7. You could put a 0 there. There's nothing wrong with putting a 0 there. Or you can just move yourself over to the next digit. So you're going to be now starting lining up with the 2 of 72. So 9 goes into 72 8 times. Mum, 8 times 7 is 8 times 9 is 72. Subtract. 72 minus 72 is 0, and bring down the 9. Now we're going to repeat. Now we're dividing downwards. 9 into 9 goes once. Mum, 1 times 9 is 9. And sister, subtract. 9 minus 9 is 0, and we're done. 8.1 is our answer. For number 2, we're going to put our decimal up high, and we're going to begin our process dividing. 7 into 6, that does not go, so we can just take a 0 there, and that one I'm going to fill in because it's in the whole number side, and I'm going to move myself over to 64. 9 goes into 64, 7 goes into 64 9 times. Whoops. 9 times 7 is 63. We subtract now. 4 minus 3 is 1. 6 minus 6 is nothing. So we're ready to bring this 4 down. We repeat the process. 7 goes into 14 2 times. 2 times 7 is 14. And we subtract. 14 minus 14 is 0. 0.92 is our quotient. And for number 3, we're going to put our decimal lined up in our quotient. 4 does not go into 2. So again, you can just move over. If you feel better putting a 0 there, that's totally fine. 4 into 28 is where we're going now. And that's 7 times. 7 times 4 is 28. And we subtract, we get a 0. We bring down the 7 and we divide again. 4 into 7 goes once. 1 times 4 is 4. We subtract. 7 minus 4 is 3. And now we bring down. We divide once more. 4 into 32, 8 times. 8 times 4 is 32. We subtract and we're done. So we have 7 and 1800ths, 7.18. So now you are ready to do the questions in exercise 1.22.